What's up, college football fans? Welcome to another episode of Bleav in the Big Ten. I am Brandon Brown, joined as always by Grant Perry, former Michigan wide receiver. Grant and we're spending a lot of time together these days. We're doing multiple shows a week on Michigan. We have been privileged enough to do some Big Ten coverage and spread our wings a little bit, if you will. We've both been I've been covering Michigan since Grant was a young tyke. Now we're both weathered, bearded old men. I am anyway. I think Grant's still hanging on to his 20s for a little bit longer. But we're now talking Big Ten. This is, episode 4 or 5, wherever we're at with talking the whole conference. And, the excitement has continued to build for both me and Grant. And now we are literally we've got Big Ten football tomorrow, Grant. As we are recording this Wednesday evening, there are 4 Big Ten teams playing football on Thursday, 2 more on Friday, and then everybody else gets it going on Saturday. So I feel like a little bit of a broken record because I ask this in some way, shape, or form every time we get on here, but the excitement level continues to build. Tomorrow, after the work hours are done, we will be watching Big Ten football. Grant, can you contain yourself anymore?
It's at the we're at the right point. I'll just say that because I'm getting ready to burst at this excitement and everything else. Good week 1 slate, some good matchups for the Big Ten, some cross conference matchups, touching the Big 12, the SEC, MAC. So, excited to see, what these teams roll out there. A lot of question marks. I mean, beginning of week 1, there's always going to be question marks, and it's nice when you finally have that window where you're going to start to see some of those questions get answered. And I think we're in for a good round of Big Ten play here this weekend.
No doubt about it. Well, here we are on the Bleav Network, presented by FanDuel, talking Big Ten football. We're going to take a look, at least a small look at every single one of these games. Again, 18 teams in the Big Ten. Figure that one out. It hasn't been 10 teams since before Grant was born, maybe, I think, something around there. But 18 games, and they will all be every team is in action through the weekend, through Saturday. There are, I think, 2 or 3 games on Sunday, and then even one more game on Monday this week where there's no NFL still, but no Big Ten games. They will be all wrapped up. 11 o'clock is the final kickoff for 2 games on Saturday night for some of our West Coast Big Ten members. We'll get to that momentarily. But we'll start right here tomorrow. Thursday evening, Thursday afternoon, we have 4 games that involve Big Ten teams, Grant. First up will be Ohio at Rutgers. Rutgers is expected to win by a good bit on that. Rutgers is kind of one of these teams. I didn't expect to dive into Rutgers, but as I said their name, it just made me think, Greg Schiano back there again. He had Rutgers really, really at a high level a handful of years ago. Then he comes back. I don't know. Rutgers just seems like one of those teams that they'll bite you. They'll play tough, and they'll bite you if you don't come to show up, and they're expected to win pretty big against Ohio.
Yeah, and, when you look at Greg Schiano and that Rutgers team, one thing you can always say is that, they're going to play tough. They're going to play hard. And, it just kind of comes down at the end of the day that, they don't necessarily get there's a little bit of a skill gap. And the players that they have don't necessarily provide some of the, big play, explosive plays that you see with the Penn States, the Ohio States, the Michigans. So with that being said, they have to get it the hard way. Last year, Kyle Monangai was really fun to watch, the running back. I want to say he was at the top of the Big Ten in a lot of categories, rushing wise. But the question mark's out on Rutgers. They got a MAC matchup, so they should be able to handle that pretty steadily and easily. But with Greg Schiano, you're always gonna get a tough team, a team that you don't want to overlook because they'll play you for 4 quarters. But a team that is towards the bottom tier of the Big Ten and somewhat of a punching bag, if you will, respectively.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm actually going to back up. I wanted to do a little bit of a guessing game with you first for some of these numbers, again, presented by FanDuel. So all of these spreads and favorites are from FanDuel. If you hop on that sports book, head on over there, find you a couple bets that you like. I'm glad I remembered this before we got too far into the slate. I apologize for going out of order there a little bit to Rutgers in Ohio. They're going to be at the beginning, then we skip around, then we come back. But Grant, if you had to take a guess, okay, I'm talking all 18 games, Thursday, couple on Friday, and all those games on Saturday. Who do you think has the biggest spread? Who is expected to win by the most points from the Big Ten? You can look down this list. There's a lot of MAC matchups, as you just mentioned. We've talked about Michigan a little bit already on our other podcast. Certainly there's a monstrous matchup between number 1 and number 3, Ohio State and Texas. We will get to that. That obviously isn't going to be the biggest spread. But if you had to take a guess, Grant, looking down this list, who do you think is expected to win by the most points? And I'm putting Grant on the spot. I don't expect him to get all of these because there's a couple that are pretty close, and there are quite a few large spreads here. But who do you got at the top if you had to guess?
Looking at this slate, you mentioned a few MAC matchups. Michigan State's got Western, but usually that's a really good game to start this season. Like Western's usually in that game. A few years back, they won it. But I'm going to go with the Montana State Bobcats going into Autzen Stadium there in Oregon. I got a feeling that one might be a little high. FCS team headed in there. What do we got here?
That's a really good guess, and that's probably where I would have went. But that is actually coming in at
oh my goodness,
fifth. Maybe fourth. Lord. I'm going to count it wrong, but they're not at the top. Okay, I'll tell you. I'll narrow it down a little bit for you. There are 2 games on this week 1 slate where the spread is more than 44 points. More than 44. The Montana State game you just mentioned at Oregon is you know what? I was looking at Missouri State at USC. Montana State at Oregon, the Ducks are only favored by 27.5. Is that free money?
What is Vegas? No. I mean, but
I don't know anything about Montana State, guilty as charged, but that seems
I know they lost their best running back. He's now with New Mexico. But wow. I don't know much about Montana State. And Oregon, I mean, only 27.5.
That surprises me. Actually, that's a really good guess. And we know that Oregon can score points. Tough to play at Autzen. Like you said, FCS team. They're one of just a few that are playing Big Ten teams this weekend. But no, that is incorrect. I will give you one more guess, Grant, and then I will reveal who has the largest spread from this weekend's slate of games in the Big Ten. Great guess on Montana State at Oregon, but no, that's just 27.5. We need a full 18 more points to be slapped onto this total to get to the biggest one.
Well, when you say that, I'm looking at this Iowa-Albany game, but that, when you say another 18 points, Iowa's not known to score efficiently and fast, so that's gonna teeter my pick on that one. So I'm leaning between Fighting Illini hosting the Western Illinois Leathernecks, or
strong.
Oh man, or that USC Missouri State. I know Missouri State's like a relatively new school to the 136 number, but I'll go with the Fighting Illini.
Ding, 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 Mr. Perry. The Fighting Illini are expected to cover by 45.5 points. That is the spread over, and I did not know they were the Leathernecks. That's incredible. What a mascot. But Illinois is favored by a whopping 45.5 points against Western Illinois. Coming in at number 2 is Penn State over Nevada, actually. And that, I think, just speaks to how good people expect Penn State to be, because Nevada's not the worst team on this list as far as opponents go. Penn State expected, or the spread there, 44.5 points. Iowa over Albany, you got 38.5, and then Missouri State at USC, 35.5. So and then Michigan and New Mexico, 34.5, and we talked about that one before as well. That's the kind of the extent of the massive spreads. A lot of the other ones are 2 or 3 scores as well. But when you're getting 34, 35, 40 points, you're expecting a pretty big blowout. All right, next question, Mr. Perry.
Let's go.
There are 2 Big Ten teams this weekend who are underdogs. 2 of the Big Ten teams this weekend are underdogs. Can you identify either or both of those teams?
Give me Ohio State. Or are they favored?
They are favored by 2.5.
Okay, I knew it was 2.5. I couldn't remember last time I checked.
Ohio State is favored. They're the home team. They are. I mean, that's basically a pick 'em at this point. But they are favored over Texas by 2.5.
All right. Well, I feel somewhat confident about this one. I'm going to say UCLA versus the Utes. I'm going to say Utah has got the edge on that one.
Ding, ding, ding. Utah going to UCLA. Utah is favored by 5.5. So again, pretty close still, but yes, Utah is expected to win that game on the road at UCLA. And the other one, Grant, I'm sorry to say, bring up a little bit of a memory, might hit a little close to home for one Mr. Grant Perry.
Close to home, do you say, huh?
Before you were a Michigan man, Grant.
Man, I'm looking at this board. I'm trying to put the clues together.
I thought that would give it away. See,
Yeah.
this really tells you when you go to a school and you become a member of that school, it's almost like the rest of your life didn't happen, Grant.
Gotcha. I gotcha. I know where you're going. Yep, I got you.
So the other one is what, Grant?
Get the Northwestern Wildcats at Tulane.
For those who may not know, Grant was committed to Northwestern for a little while before that hometown hero Michigan offer came through. And yes, Northwestern traveling to Tulane is also a 5.5-point spread. Tulane expected to win by just under a touchdown there. All right. There's where I wanted to go with a few of the guesses just to kind of get us looking at some of these spreads presented by FanDuel. As I said, 16 of the 18 Big Ten teams are favorites this weekend. A lot of pretty favorable matchups. Many MAC schools. You got Ohio, you got Buffalo, you got Miami of Ohio, Western Michigan, Ball State. You can go down the list. A lot of MAC schools traveling to play Big Ten schools. A lot of those are 2 touchdown at least spreads. The biggest one, as we discussed, 45.5 points, Illinois over Western Illinois. And then Tulane expected to beat Northwestern at home, and Utah expected to beat UCLA at UCLA, both 5.5-point spreads there. Okay, let's get back to the slate now. That's the part I didn't mean to skip ahead. I didn't mean to jump right into Ohio Rutgers. I wanted to do the little guessing game right there first. But next up, Buffalo at Minnesota. Minnesota expected to win pretty big there. Miami of Ohio traveling to Wisconsin. Grant and I talked about Wisconsin as being one of our a team not expected to do real well. I think their win total was set at 5.5, and both Grant and I think that could be a struggle to get to. I think we have the Badgers winning less than 6 games this year. On Friday night, Western Michigan will go to Michigan State. Spartans are favored by 21. And then that Western Illinois at Illinois game, that monster spread, 45.5. Illinois favored in that one. All right, and then Saturday, tons of games. I'm just going to go real quick with this. There's 2 that we're going to talk about, but I want to at least mention every single one of these just very, very quickly. FAU at Maryland. Maryland favored by 14.5, should win that one. Ball State at Purdue. Purdue favored by a lot. Northwestern at Tulane, we just talked about. Northwestern actually the 5.5-point underdog there. Old Dominion at Indiana, 23.5-point favorites for the Hoosiers. Nevada at Penn State. Penn State's supposed to roll. Montana State at Oregon. Oregon's supposed to roll. Albany at Iowa, 38.5. Or Iowa doesn't score a lot of points, Grant. Does that one, would you sprinkle a couple dollars on them to not cover such a big number just because they just typically don't score?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair sprinkle. I think that's that's a fair sprinkle, and I mean, you could honestly bet that they don't score 38 points in that game. I mean, that the jury's still out. New quarterback Mark Gronowski in place. They obviously lost Caleb Love, their star running back. So going to see what the offense looks like with Mark Gronowski. He's a little bit more of a dual threat guy, a little bit more versatile. Has like 10,000 plus yards at his previous college. So they're excited about him. And if he's as advertised, I think that offense should be moving a little bit smoother than it has in years past.
Be interesting to see. I mean, he was one that Grant kind of sold me on when we talked about our quarterbacks a few episodes back. I knew the name. I knew about the transfer. I knew he was expected to be the guy. Iowa has a couple other kids in their quarterback room that were pushing to start. And I didn't know how much ball Gronowski had played and how many numbers he put up. So that'll be interesting to see what that looks like. And this is the kind of stuff I love when you do a podcast, Grant. You may have just organically created a new segment for us called Fair Sprinkles. That's one of the coolest names I've ever heard. You grab 2 or 3 things this is a fair sprinkle right here. Put some money on this because we like it. We feel good about it. Hey, Grant Perry says fair sprinkle on Iowa not winning by 38.5 points. Maybe not even, like I said, I don't know what the over-under is for the total points in that game. That's a fair sprinkle if you ask Grant Perry. All right, New Mexico at Michigan, 34.5-point favorites there for the Wolverines. Missouri State at USC, 35.5-point favorite for the Trojans. And then let me see where I wrote it down. Colorado State at Washington. Huskies expected to roll there. That's an 11 p.m. kickoff for those of us in the Eastern time zone over here. And then there's 2 games I want to talk about. We'll just do a couple minutes on the first one, and then we will probably get close to wrapping this episode up talking Texas, Ohio State. Utah at UCLA, Grant. This one's interesting to me for a couple reasons. One, Utah's favored on the road by 5.5. Utah, sneaky good team every year. Every year they just seem to they're right there winning 8, 9, 10 games. They play really solid, sound football, and they've got a dual threat quarterback. His name is escaping me. I think it's something Dampier, if I'm not mistaken.
Devin
Dampier. So he's expected to have a solid year out there. And then on the other side, though, Nico Iamaleava and what that looks like at UCLA. All the craziness surrounding him leaving Tennessee and going out west. I'm just curious to see what UCLA really looks like with him. I like him as a talent, but not as many of the stars surrounding him there. UCLA hasn't been good at football in quite a while, and they have a tough one against Utah for the first game of the season, and they're expected to lose per FanDuel. So I guess I said a lot there, Grant. Quarterback on both sides of the ball, the 5.5-point spread. Iamaleava trying to find his way after a weird offseason. Just, is this game intriguing to you on any level? I mean, we're talking about teams far away from us, and we don't see them a lot. This is 11 o'clock kickoff, but I'm intrigued by this game.
Yeah, I am too. And my first reason for why I'm intrigued really has nothing to do with anything that's going to happen on the field besides the time of kick. 11 p.m. West Coast, crazy things happen. We used to call that Pac-12 after dark. It's kind of transformed into Big Ten after dark. First off, if you have the time, if you're able to stay up and watch those games, if you do a little fair sprinkle, those are some of the most fun games to stay up and watch, just because just pure silence, right? Everyone's asleep, and you're just watching some Pac-12, Big Ten, Big 12 now, football out west. And game intrigues me as well because, for one, kind of relating to the Michigan New Mexico game, they lose. New Mexico loses 3 of their best players to Utah. Devin Dampier, Ryan Davis was a receiver, and they lost a running back, Naquari Rogers. So New Mexico's 3 best players are now with Utah. Devin Dampier is expected to start for Utah, and he's a shifty guy. He's a mobile guy, likes to get it with his legs. He can also throw as well. Interested to see how that works. In the Big 12, as far as just a smaller mobile quarterback. But in this matchup, when you look at UCLA, one of the biggest questions is, what are they going to do on defense? Defense has not been great for them. And they do get Nico, this past offseason, which is, really big upside. But then again, too, it's like, who's he throwing to? Who are his targets? But when you look at UCLA's schedule, like if they come out, they beat Utah, they take on UNLV next, and they have New Mexico week 3, then Northwestern, and then they go into week 6 they host Penn State. If they're undefeated by then, man, and UCLA finds a way to secretly walk to 5-0, Nico Iamaleava out on the West Coast, kind of playing in, under the radar a little bit, I think could help them, kind of getting out of that spotlight of the SEC. And obviously, all eyes are going to be on him with the storyline this past offseason. But I wouldn't be surprised if somehow UCLA is, clicking. And don't ask me, I don't know how, but if somehow this camp, they found some rhythm. If they get a win versus Utah and then roll the next 4, they could be a team out of the West that's making some quiet noise, and Nico's having a solid season.
Very interesting. Sounds like another fair sprinkle, if you will. UCLA plus 5.5. Sounds like Grant's giving them a dark horse chance to win. Look, I mean, Utah's not like some unbeatable team, but they are the favorite in that game. But that one intrigues me for a lot of those same reasons that you just said. Maybe you think UCLA and Nico Iamaleava will surpass expectations. If so, that 5.5 point spread is a little bit intriguing there for the underdog Bruins. All right, last but certainly not least. I mean, I don't know if you'll get a 1 versus 3 matchup the rest of the year. But we get it in week 1. Texas going to the shoe in Columbus to take on reigning national champion Ohio State at noon. Excuse me. I guess I just choked because that was not intentional. But that's kind of how I feel about it. This game should not be at noon. The big noon kickoff has hijacked some of these big games. Look, I get Fox trying to carve out their own little niche. Like, this is our prime. This needs to be a primetime night game under the lights all day long in Columbus. It's not. It's at noon. Ohio State's favored by 2.5 per FanDuel. I mean, dude, I cannot wait to watch this one. These are, you're going to have – I thought about this, Grant. You might have 3 of the top 5 NFL picks playing in this game. Arch Manning, Caleb Downs, Jeremiah Smith. They might go 1, 2, 3. Like, depending on what the order of the draft is, but certainly top 10 guys, not all in the same draft. Jeremiah Smith, a freaking sophomore. He can't even come out yet, even though he probably would have been the first wide receiver picked last year. Point is, tons of talent on the field, tons of speed, big-time names, big-time players, number 1 versus number 3. It's a college football fan's dream. Even as Michigan guys, you can't help but be pumped about a game like that week 1 to start things off.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a true college football fan, no matter where your alliance lays, you get excited. You almost feel like, it's one of your teams playing, just with how intense and how big this matchup is. And, I think both these teams are going into this game with kind of the mindset and, with the new landscape and how things work is like, hey, let's go out there, let's play our damn hardest. But like, hey, this isn't the BCS era where one loss and you're really fighting uphill battle, to stay in contention. We're in a 2-loss and you're probably in, if you're an elite team, type of league now. So, these teams I think are going to go in and really give it their all. Ohio State rolling out Julian Sain, really first time starting. He is a redshirt sophomore, really his first solid time as a leader, running an offense. And, you're going to assume that he's going to get his with Jeremiah Smith, like that connection. You probably have the dude from the Sandlot from, I'm thinking of some movie I can't think about, but point is anyone, with a simple mind there could understand that Jeremiah Smith is going to get his. Like that's without a doubt. Interested to see what the running back position for Ohio State is going to look like. I know Donaldson, C.J. Donaldson and Peoples are going to be back there. They lose Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson. So that's going to be interesting. Those 2 running backs really accounted for a lot. And also too was saying, he's not a mobile guy. He's athletic, but he's not going to be a runner like Will Howard was. So how does that offense and new offensive coordinator Brian Hartline kind of shape what they're going to be missing with Will Howard in that run game that picked up so many crucial yards in those short situations, especially late in games. And then when you look at Texas, man, I mean, Arch Manning, right? The storyline is him. Excited to see what he's going to do coming out in the shoe. And then you look at their defense. I mean, Simmons is a beast, defensive end for Texas. Colin Simmons, he's going to have a day. He already posted Ohio State's, post about Julian Sain being the starting quarterback. He posted a picture up of that, and he's licking his chops now. And they got a really good corner in Muhammad and a really good safety in Taff as well. And offensively, I mean, they're Arch Manning. You got the receiver Wingo. I mean, this is and Wisner at running back. I mean, this is going to be an elite game with elite talent at every position. And I think the team that can come out, establish the run, keep it 3rd and short, 2nd and 5, stay ahead of the chains, keep their defense off the field, I think is going to find success in this game. And if I had to pick, I don't know if we're doing projections on this one yet, but I'm rolling with Texas on this one. I think, the past couple of years, Texas has been, when you look at both teams, Texas comes out of the gates a little bit stronger in the early part of the season. Ohio State, lost to Oregon. I think it was week 3 or 2 or 4 last year, and then they lose to Michigan. So they had 2 losses there. I think Ohio State's a team that kind of warms up and gets hotter as the season goes on. And we obviously saw that in the playoffs where, I mean, you step in front of them, you're getting steamrolled. So I think it's going to be an interesting dynamic, especially with, 2 quarterbacks that haven't been official starters yet. Man, can't wait. And I'm licking my chops for, 12 noon, wiping the crust out of my eyes and locking in.
There's no doubt. It just feels like such a big game to be played at noon, but either, whenever it's going to be a ton of fun to watch for all those same reasons that you just outlined. And I promise this is not my bias seeping in. I also have Texas picked to win the game. 2.5 point favorite for Ohio State being at home is essentially a pick'em game. I mean, that's essentially a coin flip type of game. And whenever I think both teams are pretty even, yeah, I'd give Ohio State the edge with Jeremiah Smith. I'd give them the edge with Caleb Downs, but then I'd give Texas the edge with Colin Simmons. I'd probably give them the edge with their best corner. I'd probably give them the edge with their best linebacker, Anthony Hill. I think you could go back and forth. So where do I look at the quarterback position? And Arch Manning's a better quarterback than Julian Sain. I know Arch Manning hasn't been the guy yet either, but he's played in bigger moments. He's more poised for this position just because of the way he's been brought up to this position. And I think he's going to be the difference in the game. But, if Ohio State wins it by 10, I wouldn't be surprised at all. It is at home. That place is a nightmare for opponents to go in and play, and it's the first game of the year. So I think there's a lot of things that are going to make it really, really interesting. But if you wouldn't have said it on your own, I would have asked you, where are you going with this one? I would take Texas as well to cover, but I do think it's going to be a pretty close game. If Texas wins by 3 or 2 field goals or a touchdown, that's about as ugly as I see it getting in either direction for these two teams who almost certainly will be battling all year for playoff spots. It just kind of they're just too good. They're too talented. Yeah. They're too good to not win most of their games. And I want to throw this one last thing out there as a Michigan native and a Lions fan. Matt Patricia. Why did he get hired? I don't understand. We'll see what it looks like, but have fun. Have fun with him. That's all Lions fans are going to say. I know that. Yeah, for sure. But there you have it. An incredible weekend of football coming up with maybe one of the best games of the entire year already taking place in week 1. Texas at Ohio State. We talked about that one. Utah at UCLA. We talked about that one. Nebraska at Cincinnati. We talked about a little bit, and we gave at least a mention to everybody out there cheering for their favorite teams in the Big Ten. He's Grant Perry. I'm Brandon Brown. We'll see you again next week.